do have a configuration for PowerPoint and or Adobe. So if you don't have a PowerPoint presentation built in, or if you're not on the Microsoft Office or just don't have that version, you're still able to utilize the presentation in an Adobe or a PDF format. And again, before we get started, and I know that I did a audio video check and it's looking good, but again, as usual with my webinars, I tend to jump back and forth. I do as much live as I can because it's a lot easier to follow along when you're seeing it in action. A bunch of screenshots really isn't going to help you if you're not seeing how the system is functioning. So in typical fashion, I do have my cell phone in front of me on silent. I will be looking for text messages. It is a lot easier for me to look for a text message because I don't have to mess with my phone than to jump in and out of that sidebar. I do have to keep it kind of tucked in or I'll never be able to scroll. So that being said, one of the things I want to start with is how to get there. And the website is toolkitcma.com. For anyone that hasn't been on yet, you should have gotten an email from Sally when you first came on board, if you're new to the company, with an email, with your email address, which Toolkit, for whatever reason, I know I don't like when people dictate my username and password because I'm old and it makes it hard to remember. But this system itself requires an email. And it doesn't matter what email, it just requires an email. So as usual, when we have people coming on board, the email that we put in is your realtyexecutives.com. So the default on this is your full Realty, first name, last name, at realtyexecutives.com. For anyone in the company, I want to say in the past 6 months, we're using the default password here of excellence. They were at one time giving out these TK passwords. Everything started with an uppercase T and K for Toolkit, and numbered. Wasn't really working out, and quite frankly, I didn't find that there was a valid reason to do that, and it just seemed easier to stick with the default, and you can go in and change your password. For anyone that hasn't used it and cannot get online, please pop me an email or give me a call after the webinar, and I can tell you what your password is and or reset it, whatever the case may be. So let's log in right now. We're going in live to my toolkit. And mine looks exactly like everybody else's. There's nothing, I don't know if they changed this, but let's see. So your dashboard, if I could type today, will look exactly like mine does. Except mine has my picture, and hopefully yours doesn't have my picture. Okay. So we're in. This is the new dashboard again for anyone that hasn't been here in a while. They have made some changes to the system within the system, as well as our revamping. I want to say back in February or March. I actually think the new pages were put up sometime in April. And that really pertains, and we will go through them, pertains mostly to the new marketing suite and some of the other features. So the first place you're going to want to go when you get in here, if you haven't been here for a while and if this doesn't look like it's supposed to, is your Preferences tab. And that's right here at the bottom. You'll see that there is a Startup Guide option if that's what you want to do. Edit your agent profile. So if we click into the Edit the Agent Profile, we've got our agent name, which you cannot change. And Realty Tool support for name change is me. So you can give me a call. We are allowed to use team names. That is totally legal. So if you are a team and you would prefer to have one toolkit, which makes total sense, one toolkit profile for the team, I can go ahead and make that change. Title, please do not use the word realtor. I know we're doing this, so it did come to our attention. In fact, it came to everyone's attention via the Sussex County Association of Realtors that NAR is out there, and apparently, and this was new to me, and I'm a rules kind of girl, you are not allowed to combine the word realtor with any other, I guess, any other words, any other title. So for a lot of us, including myself, I would be typing in realtor, and then I do a slash, and I'd have broker associate. Not allowed. Realtor can be used, and again, really shocking to me, after your name. So after your name, comma, realtor, pretty much similar to a designation or a certification. That's how they have the legal usage in any kind of title. So if you notice a lot of the marketing material that's coming out of corporate, because Vanessa had a mild heart attack when we realized we weren't doing it correctly, you'll notice that it all come out, your first and last name, comma, realtor, and then your title, your legal title, or whatever it is that New Jersey Department of Banking or the Real Estate Commission will allow. So be really careful of that. I'm going in and doing a lot of changing on any of the profiles I have access to. But if you're in here, please go ahead and make that change so we don't run into any problems. And actually down here, you also have the realtor mark. Another thing, realtor associate, although it seems to be something that we call ourselves the associate word, realtor associate is an actual type of membership. So unless that is your membership type, if you're like the rest of us and you're just a realtor, individual realtor, then you're going to use just the individual realtor logo. The plural obviously will accommodate the team. So if the team, both members on the team are realtors, you can actually use the plural version. Designations can be separated by commas, so however you want to do that here. Please use the full name of the company. I know it's kind of long, but corporate is really asking everyone to use the full name of the company. The address has to be the company address. Please don't put yours. And then you have some blank spaces here. Office phone number is the office phone number, not your home office phone number. It is your actual office phone number. You have some space down here. You'll see I add my mobile, I add my email address, and I include my website. You can do anything as far as you can put social media down here. If you have a team and you want to add 2 separate phone numbers, you want to add another mobile, you can actually go in and change this and do mobile for Judy, mobile for Mary. So however you want to do that as far as team, just keep in mind the more information you have here, it is going on a footer. So whatever you have down in here is going into a space with specific characters. And in fact, I think that my email address, not that I can help it, does roll over into the second line occasionally, and I don't love that. But go ahead in here, and once you make all of the changes and you're happy with it, you're going to choose save. I'm going to choose cancel. Edit or change your agent photo, whatever photo that you had given to corporate when you came on board, or maybe Sally snapped while you were in the conference room, is the photo that we do have or place on the profile when we set it up. If you've had something more professional or something that you like better, come on, and again, it needs to look professional, so you with your dog is probably not the best option, but go ahead and make that change. You can make that change here. Edit my resume. I had gotten a call from an agent the other day on the resume portion of this. I'm going to go in and show you what it looks like. Not a page that I fell in love with, but everybody has their own preference. So it is broken down into sections, as you can see here. You can change the title and the heading. You can do an about me or about Donna instead of resume, however it is that you want to put this. You can choose to move your agent photo or no photo if you want. Subheader, I have affiliations, but that's completely open. The same with number 3. So the headers are completely up to you. And obviously the description, I kind of put something in here so that you can all see what it looks like. I like mine in the Word format, but I'm going to show you, and hopefully as I'm tooling through and things are opening here, you're seeing it. So this is what the resume would look like if you decided to incorporate it into your presentation. And again, I have very little information. I just wanted you to see. So the information will populate here. This is about how much space you would have for all of these little paragraphs, and obviously you wouldn't want them to totally overflow or it's not going to look very nice. But this is what the resume looks like. Again, I used a custom template, and I will show you that towards the end of the webinar. And I put a lot of additional content, so you can really customize this and personalize it, as much as you'd like, with additional pages and your header and footer that would display on them as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cancel out this page and go right back here. And again, I'm going to be canceling the edit resume. And then you also have a references. Looks very similar. This is what it would look like. Again, you have a title heading that you can change. You can have sellers and then buyers. And their reference would just literally be, it's not even a testimonial. It's a true-to-life reference with names and phone numbers. I'm not exactly sure when this came into play as a realtor, but okay. And again, to click to preview, because I do put just some general information so you can see what that looks like, it's just going to end up being a list more than anything. So it's completely up to you. Depending on your market, if that's something that that you're proud of, and you have people that will sing your praises if somebody calls them, and it doesn't look so. Most people aren't going to call them, so it may not look like a terrible thing if you're willing to fess up some names and numbers. Me, I'm kind of a naysayer, so if somebody did that, I'd go, sure, it's probably their aunt. But again, if it's something that you work with now, there is a place to put that. Save presentations and flyers is self-explanatory. It is exactly what you may or may not have in here. I have some listing presentations in here. So we have the date that it was created, the name of the potential seller, and which is what I put in. Obviously, you can put in whatever you want to. The type of presentation and the expiration date. We're going to get into the expiration dates and my recommendations for best practices once we get through towards the end and start saving some stuff. Moving down, listings and photos. If you're like I do add my photos, and this is the listings and photos that came in from GSMLS. So this was my last download. And this is the date that it expires. They expire pretty quickly. Again, I'll show you a best practices for that within the GSMLS, because I do have that same exact search saved in my MLS, and I'll show you how that works as we start to incorporate MLS into the listing presentation. Again, set presentations and flyers. Set presentations and flyers, there is an email when you complete, and I don't use it from here, and I'll let you know why when we're at that page. But pretty much you can generate an email right from the system. One positive thing is anytime somebody views it, you will get an email to say that it was viewed. So doing it on here, I guess, keeps you in the loop a little bit more than if you were to download and send via an attachment. And it really does depend. When you see the email set up, it'll be a personal preference as well. Program settings. This here, recommended price calculations and settings. You can do it depending on how you do your CMA. Everybody has a personal preference. As far as, do you use actives under contracts and sold? Do you only use sold properties? So here there's a recommended price range sheet, which is what I typically use on residential sales. The only reason I would go into the other page, and again, something I'll point out once we get there. The only reason that I would go to the secondary page as far as price is if I have someone that's asking me to do a CMA for a divorce, short sale, or loan modification, or tax assessment. Because in those cases, they want a bottom line market value. They don't want a list price range. So this is specifically for a list price range, which in that case, I do use all. Because if you're picking those actives under contracts and sold, what will happen is if you have the used sold only properties, when it does the average for your list price range, it's not going to include the other properties that you have. It'll only include what's sold. So that's here. And then you have your default summary to averages, which of course I do. The range in here, it's 3%. I know that there are some people that use that 10% range, or that they have higher percentages. This is the default. I left it that way. I know my numbers before I even get to this point normally. So if that list price range doesn't come out to my number, you can go ahead and change that list price range. Rounding, I have mine up to the next 100. My market does not call for a whole heck of a lot. But if you're in that $1 million price range, and that's typically what you're selling, you may want to go round up to next 1,000 rather than the 100. And then you've got to the nearest. This is a definite uptick. This is the nearest. So again, based on that 50-49 range, it'll either go higher or lower. Completely up to you on that one. This wouldn't be such a terrible option, and I'll go ahead and change it because it doesn't really matter. Break page option. Please, please, please do not kill any more trees. If you click this box, anytime there is a status change on your comps, it's going to start a new page. So number one, it's not going to look very nice because you're going to end up with a lot of white space. And again, number two, you're going to use a lot more pages than you may necessarily need. If it's a look and you have to have it, go ahead. Again, personal preference. I choose not to use it. Email settings here. Obviously, if you're sending, I don't know why they even have this, because you're not just cold emailing people so that they would unsubscribe. Typically, if you're emailing somebody from this system, you're emailing somebody from this system. The only thing that I can think of is maybe if you're doing blast flyers from here, and that looks like it could be an option if you want to manually type in every email, because there is no contact management on here where you can create a group. Not exactly sure why that would be there. I guess it's a mandatory because you're emailing. And then use alternate email address for emailing presentations. What that means is alternate from the one that you have. So if you're using an @yahoo.com in your profile where you can change your email address, it would be recommended to type this in and put in, you'll see here, I have it in here, but I don't need to use it because it's the one I log in, your professional email address. So that would be something to look at depending on what you're using as far as a login. Mapping settings, again, same exact thing. You can generate aerial and satellite maps. I think I'm going to see what that looks like on the next one. And get MLS data, allow URL for file upload. That is already saved and set in here. So we're going to leave that the way it is, and I'm going to click on Save. And we all get to see what my changes do. This is the first time I'm looking at it. Not the program settings, but the changes that I just made. And then we have the change sign-in, and this is what I explained to you before. You can change your email address, and you can change your password. Again, if you're using a shorter email address to log in, and I completely understand, make sure that in the preferences you're using your professional email as the outbound email address. I'm not making any changes, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel. And I'm going to go back home because that is it. I'm not going to go into the startup guide because that's a no-brainer when you get in there if it's something that you want to look at. But right now we've hit every tab on the preferences, and that was right here. View samples and run demo. Again, something you want to do, be my guest. We are going to now dive right into the presentations. A couple of, and you'll see here, I do have my checkboxes defaulted. What I'm going to recommend is at this point in time, and again, I think somebody heard my prayer, because I've been saying for years, and I have been using Toolkit for years. I was using it, when we were prior to the Realty Executives days. But the listing presentation, I said, I don't understand why it is that these would not be hyperlinked so that you could see what the page looked like and decide whether or not you wanted to use it, especially in the case when you have 3 presentation covers. You're going to want to see what they look like. You've got several pages as far as Realtor.com, HSA, and they're all preferences. And so what they did was they allow now, not only do they allow a hyperlink, I fell in love when I went in here, and I think this was May that I found this. Not only do they have a preview of the page, but you have the opportunity to select and unselect right from here. So as you go through, and you can zoom in and you can zoom out, I guess if you wanted to zoom out a little bit so you can see what the whole page looks like all at once, that'll probably make it easier for you. And you'll see here that you have the page number 1 of 52. We do have a total of 52 custom pages in. You're not going to use all of them because there's a variety of comparable pages. You're not going to use every single one of those. And again, you have a choice in cover page. You have a choice in subject. And towards the end, there are a couple of pages that you would have to choose between team version or standard version. So really quickly, we're going to go through. I may have to zoom in for every page. We're going to go through, and this is what this page would look like, and this would just be unbranded. There's no photo in there at all. And then you have this one, which has the agent photo, the very first one, or the second one. Okay, here it is. It didn't populate. This is the one with the subject photo, and that's standard. That's the one that I would normally use. I always, unless there is some unusual reason why I can't, will snap my own, not a previous GSMLS unless it was mine, my own shot of the very front of the house prior to going for the presentation, because then it's going to be incorporated into all of the marketing that I do. And if you come to the next mobile or watch the mobile, you'll see exactly how we do that with mobile as well. So again, you'll see here, this is a page that I have selected. I have a choice of unselecting, and then we can go through and move forward and do the same thing. I'm not going to go through all 52 pages. You get the idea. So go through, starting at page 1, select and unselect as you prefer, and then my recommendation at that point would be to close this out, which is right here, and what you'll be left with are the pages checked that you chose during that preview. At that point, if you think that is going to be your standard, your normal everyday CMA presentation, and again, you can opt to change as you go along, but if that is going to be the one that you use primarily, then you would click as set as default. So what happens is, no matter what changes you make, unless you choose this button again, the next time you log in or the next time you try to create a listing presentation, that default is going to be here. And that's exactly, this is my default right now. If I were going in to do another type of presentation, and again, if you're doing, I just hit clear all. If I were doing something, let's say a friend called me up and said, you know what, the bank needs a CMA. I'm not going to use all these pretty pages because the bank could care less. So what I would do at that point is I would pick some of the more stringent property graphs, recommendation, all of this stuff, and I would just move forward and click on next. However, the next time I came back in, and I'm going to go ahead and go home and click on presentations, you'll notice that all the checkboxes that I had set to default are right back there again. So you can make one-time changes based off of the reason why and for whom you are doing the presentation. So we're going to move forward with the listing presentation here, and I am going to hope, upon hope, that I can use last prospect. Okay, awesome. So you can type in all of the seller information here. I'm going to click on next. That listing is coming up, by the way. I have listing paperwork received this morning. So anybody have anybody interested in Ogdensburg, it'll be up. We've got a letter here. Now, this here is the same as the home page. You can warm this up depending on your relationship. If it's a repeat client, if it's somebody you met at an open house and they're looking to buy your that property, or looking to work with you as a buyer, and you're listing their house, you can maybe add some of that verbiage in here. So what I would recommend is come up with a default, which this is my default. Same exact thing. You go ahead and you make those changes, and make the changes in here. Get a letter together that you can use as a standard, and then click to preview, and this will show you exactly what that looks like right here. That's what the letter is going to look like, so you can get a look at it. And I'm going to cheat and show you guys at the end how you can actually put a signature on that. That'll be the first time in this presentation that I did that, because I figured it out the other day, and I figured I'll share it with you. So here at that point, once you have that general letter or your normal letter, you would do a save as default and next. If you went in the next time, and again, you wanted to warm it up a little bit, it's a repeat client, you can go ahead and make that warm. Don't save as a default, just choose the next button, which I'm going to do, and the next time you come in, the default, just like the front page, will be right back there, and you can utilize it, or you can change it again for the next customer. So we're going to choose next, and here is where you have your, pardon me, your MLS download. This has changed for anyone that wasn't on the previous 2 webinars, but has been in the system before, or has used Toolkit at another brokerage. I'm going to just take a real quick sip of water. I've been losing my voice, and my husband is thrilled. This has changed, and the reason that it has changed is because at one time, this particular platform was only accessible via Internet Explorer. So it didn't really need to play nice with any other browsers. It worked within Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer knew where to find everything. Now it adapts to all the browsers, including Safari, So you have to get a little bit more detailed and tell the computer where you want it to look. So the first thing you want to do is connect to the MLS. Depending on your MLS, mine automatically goes into, and let me go back and show you why. It automatically went into GSMLS because I have it defaulted up here to a GSMLS residential search. So what you'd want to do is, prior to hitting that button, if you have multiple MLSs, and you'll see here that I have access to multiple MLSs, whatever MLS you're affiliated with, or MLS is you're affiliated with, should populate in here. If it is not there and it is something that you need, reach out to me and I will call our rep and have your profile turned on to whatever it is that you're looking for, as long as you have your own sign-in. So what you'd want to do prior to hitting that button and making sure this is, so if you're doing a multifamily in GSMLS, you would choose this. And then again, this is by MLS. I am going to be doing a complete search. So these are the two regular searches. I would stick with this one, obviously, as long as it's residential. You can have them insert commercial in here, but it's not something that I ever did, so I didn't need it. So again, we're connecting to the MLS, and we're ending up right here. You're going to sign in as usual. Now, you can go in and start your Toolkit CMA presentation and then pick your comps. I never do that. So this will allow for a regular search just like you normally would, and you can put all of your criteria here in search. I would recommend, prior to doing that, because this is sitting on top of another system and integrated, to have it saved. Number one, as you could tell when we were at the very beginning and we looked up our saved searches, there is an expiration date on the saved search. So if you need to use it again and you're just doing it in here and you're letting the Toolkit CMA database hold your information, there's an expiration date on it. So what I do is I do my search, and for anyone, I'm finding out that I think we're anticipating that our region is going to be putting together a GSMLS class because we're finding some of the newer agents, even though they're taking these basic MLS classes at the board office, are not getting exactly what they need to do the best that they could as far as a CMA goes. So that's coming down the pike. So where I want to go with this is that I can just go in here. I can do Sparta. I don't really care what it is. I'm just going to show you how you save it. So you click on OK, and you go through and you choose all the listings that you like. Again, I'm recommending that you do this in advance of signing into Toolkit for two reasons. Number one, you'll have it saved on GSMLS and it never goes away even if the property status changes. And number two, because this system is working right now, and you can see the little jiggly arrow, the system is working on top of another product or within another product, there's a lot of room for error. So again, you can go in and search in here, and that's exactly what I'm doing, and I'm hitting narrow. Now what I would normally do is I would click on Save Results, and you'll see I actually have one here saved for today's date, and name it, and I normally name it the client's last name. Everything then stays consistent. If they have a contact, you can actually move it in and save it to the contact. Typically, these are buyers and these are sellers. And I don't always have them the same until the listing comes in. But I would normally save it the last name of the potential seller or your listing appointment. And that's it. And then I would click on Save. And then when I come into MLS via the Toolkit, I go straight to search. So let's just say I'm going to go back and close out everything and pretend for a minute that we just logged in right through the GSMLS Connect to the MLS from Toolkit. We're pressing that button, we're logged in, and we're back to our GSMLS home screen. So because I did my search before I got on, I actually can go into search, click View Saved, Results, choose the last name of the client. In this particular case, it's Custom CMA. Then choose View. And these are all the properties that I've already gone through, made sure the comparables are the comparables, in my head made adjustments if one has air conditioning and the other doesn't. So I know at this point what my price range should be. And then what you're going to do is just check the box here so that it checks all of them. You're going to choose Download. Everybody's web browser is going to function differently. I am on Firefox right now. And I am on Windows 7. So the combination is going to act differently than if you're on Firefox and XP. or if you're on Firefox and 8, which I have the upgrade for and refuse to do at the moment. But I'm going to just click on the download here, and you'll see that mine automatically jumps to save file. Mine will not jump to a file name. Some of yours will. Name it the last name of the person. Make sure you know where it's going. I have a downloads file, so mine is going to automatically, because I chose that setting on my computer, not GSMLS, not Toolkit. On my computer, everything that I save goes into a downloads file. If you're not configured that way, or you just don't know, when you click on the save file, see mine automatically does it, you may end up with another box asking you for a file name and a destination. Put it on the desktop, because that destination, if you don't choose one, is going to be a temporary internet file that you cannot access. It's a hidden file in your system. So make sure that you know where that file is going, because you are going to need to go back and get it. And if you need help individually, it's something that I can walk you through over the phone, as well as I was actually at NARTech all day yesterday, and there's this awesome little thing that I want to test out for trading individual agents. It's kind of like FaceTime for corporate. So if that works, you'll all get to check out how that works. So now I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to log out, and I'm going to close out of here, and I'm going to go back to my Toolkit CMA, and at this particular point, I am going to browse for that file. And again, I know where it went, because all of mine go right in here. Yes, my daughter's favorite band, not mine. And I know that it's going to be the last. I'm going to go back into list. It is easier to look at it that way. And I know that it's going to be my very last contact. You'll see here these are previous trainings, so it automatically renumbers if on my computer. So again, you need to know how your computer is going to behave as far as the saving of the form. So I'm going to choose 6, assuming it was the last one and the one that I just did now, and I'm going to choose upload file. I thought I did select the listing file. Oh, I guess I didn't. Let's try it again. 6 and open. There we go. Okay. Now upload file. Is it doing it again? All right, my computer is not cooperating. I'm going to have to go into the one previous. I have no idea why that's not working. But this is today, and it says 0 byte. Oh, that's 919. Pardon me. Maybe it's this one. Come on, computer. 919. I'm sorry. My bad. It's in the downloads. Here it is. That contact was me helping out an agent. Sorry, wrong file name. I got to go in there and clean that up, obviously. So it was under downloads, not contacts. That was my fault. So we're now looking at the system importing all of the listing information. Keep in mind, if your default up on the top, and I'll go back in a minute, but if your default up on the top says residential, GSMLS residential search, and you go in and search a multifamily instead, it will work up to this point, because what it's looking for is specific fields, and if anybody has searched a multifamily on GSMLS, you'll notice the fields have certain different names and also populate into different areas. This will not work unless the default or the drop-down menu of the search type matches the search that you've actually done. So be mindful of that. This shows up haphazardly at the moment, but it will show up properly when I'm doing the presentation. It's looking, it defaults to list price as you go. Not really. I don't even know what's going on here. In any case, what we're going to do is, before we check all, I want to go in and show you a couple of things. If you're looking at a property that's showing under contract, let's just say it's yours, and it's under contract, and that you're ready to go, you're closed. Let's go that way. Let's just say you're a buyer rep, and you just closed, I don't know, 35 Summit Trail. But the listing agent hasn't closed it out yet. So it legally has closed. You have a HUD, you got your check, and you know that 35 Summit Trail, although listed for $289, sold for $275. And you want to use that as one of your sold comparables in this because it is absolutely to die for, exactly the same as the house that you may or may not be listing. You can actually go into edit details, which is right here. Obviously, this makes sure that you have the right property. You can choose edit, and you can change that under contract to recently sold. And you can go ahead and let's move up a little bit here, recently sold, and you can actually add, I move down a little bit, in here somewhere, the contract, you can get rid of the contract date, the settle date, which is the close date, and you can actually add the sale price right here. So again, you want to go in, you're going to do $275,000. I'm not going to actually make the change because it's, well, I can. I'm not actually doing this as a, you can leave the contract date in here, but let's just say it's settled 2 days ago. So 09/22/2013. So now you have all of this information. You've changed it to sold. You've included the sold price. Again, if it's under contract and hasn't closed and you're the buyer's agent, you can't say that it's sold for X amount of dollars because anything can happen. It's not over till the fat lady sings. So, but in this particular case, you know that it's sold. It closed 2 days ago. You got your HUD, you got your check. It's at $275. You got your settle date in here, and you're going to move down to the very bottom and choose save. So now you'll see that that switched to sold. It switched to a sold price. You've got the contract date in here, but you've also got the sold date in here, and that'll populate on. So now I'm going to check all, which is right down here. And I'm going to choose next. You have the option, by the way, if a picture, a lot of the time the pictures for some reason, depending on the day, will not populate in. In this particular case, you can go back to GSMLS to take the photo that the listing agent had and put it in your market analysis because you're not using it to promote that particular property. You're using it as a comp. So there's nothing illegal about that because it would have populated in if the system was working properly. And again, it could be anything that does that. I've had it happen once or twice where the picture did not populate in. You could edit those details as well because that really does beef up your presentation. So we're going to click on next right here. This is the subject property details, and this is actually the details of the house on Lincoln. But you're going to want to put as much of this information in as you can, especially if you're deciding on to use the columnar. And I'm going to show you what that looks like as well. Because the display on your comps, there is a columnar, which is the comparable side-by-side. Then you've got the columnar with the subject property. So you've got the subject property first. And what it does is it has all of the features, so you're looking to an apples-to-apples comparison. It is not one of the forms I use. I use the 3 comparables per sheet. It does come in status order, but it does not cut off the page when the status changes. It's got a picture and it looks a little bit differently. And we're going to go in and we can futz around with what that looks like. In fact, when I show you some of the samples that I've downloaded, because the download does take quite a bit, you can see the differences in what they look like because I do have a full presentation. So again, we're looking at the subject property. In this particular case, I'm going to browse for photo because I know that I have one. And I actually keep a folder in my system called House Photos. So anything that I've ever had a listing presentation on, and I'm sure it's in alphabetical order, so it's right here, or sold, is in here. And this happens to be 4 Lincoln Avenue, which I had listed previously for rent. And so I had a picture of that already. And I'm moving that in here. And so what that'll do is when the subject property page that I choose comes up, it'll come up with that photo on it. So now we're going to just move to next. And here's that recommended price list range that I was telling you about. And this actually is dead on for that particular property as far as the list price. Again, this is not your market value. This is your list price. And it does say that right here. So if you decided that that was not your list price, I don't know, they've got gold entryway and you think that's a benefit, this is all changeable. So you can go in here if you don't think that that is right and put whatever number it is that you think should be in here as far as the price range, and that's a both of them. So we're going to choose next, and that's it. The presentation at this point is completely finished. I am not going to create a presentation because I'm going to show it to you on a saved document, and it will save you at least 10 minutes of your life. because the presentation has a lot. You'll see here the currently on the market properties and then the average price. Under contract, average price. This is based off of that one button on your preferences where it's averaging all of the statuses rather than just the recently sold. And so this is where you'd be able to see the difference where it's averaging based off of status and then averaging all three of those numbers. If you chose just the solds, you're not going to see any of these numbers up here. This is the under contract and the active. Again, same thing when I had said about the email, a PDF in the presentation. I'm going to choose that button just because I want you to see what it looks like. I'm hoping that I don't have all the pages. It won't take too long. And I'm actually doing this from my home office today. My internet is a lot faster than the office, so let's cross our fingers that we work. Okay. So let's just say I go in and I'm putting in my email address. So this is the person that's receiving it, and you can see here that you can do multiples. I'm not going to send this, but this might be one of the reasons. I mean, right here it'll have a link, and what happens, and I got a lot of calls going, I can't email anything. If you don't preview the PDF, the send button will not populate. So it requires that you review the entire presentation before you can actually send the email. Be mindful of that. And again, I do use this if I'm doing tax assessments, if I'm doing divorce numbers, if I'm doing loan mod numbers, if I'm doing bankruptcy numbers, because a lot of the times I'll email the attorney directly. So I do use this form of email. Typically when I'm using this, keep in mind my PDF is really short and sweet because they're not getting all the fluff and other stuff. They're only getting the bottom line numbers, so it's maybe 6 to 8 pages rather than 40 somewhat pages. But again, this is what it's going to look like here. Keep in mind that you do have to review the PDF before this will populate. And you do get, just hold on a 1 second. I'm going to just, you do have the opportunity to, again, change the body. I don't typically have something at the very bottom, so I have a body, a paragraph explaining what it is, and then it includes the link. It includes the link for them to click on. And again, you will get emails from the system anytime somebody opens that up and goes in there. Okay, so we are going to now go back to the home page or cancel out of this. Hope that works. I've never gone there and canceled. And we're back to the save page. I do recommend creating a presentation. You know what? We're just going to suck it up and go for it. Creating a presentation. I'm hoping that it downloaded once. It won't take too long the second time. And saving it to either a USB, a CD, if you're still into burning CDs, I am a USB girl myself, or your hard drive. If you're doing it on your own computer, save it. Because, again, back to the very beginning of the presentation, when we were looking at them, they expire. I work at Sussex County. Everybody has a different days on market. But if you're selling in Sussex County under 90 days, God bless you. My properties are typically sitting around a little bit longer than that, and what will happen is your market analysis will disappear. So you'll see this is the PDF version of that market analysis. I'm going to take it down a notch so that you can see the zoom to page level, so you can see what those pages look like, and this is what they look like. This is what it looks like completed. Try that page down. And these are all the pages that I choose to use in mine. So you can see a little bit about Realtor.com, Trulia, your mobile marketing. We did include some stats. You might want to take a look at those stats and just get to know them before you're on that presentation so that you're not reading off of the form and that you can intelligently guide the sellers using those numbers. But again, these are the pages that I'm looking at. And again, I map the comparables, so this is going to show you what that looks like. These are my 3 on a page. So currently, since I had 2, 2, and 2, they're going to run into each other. So that was a total of 6, which means I only have 2 pages of the comparables. We've got the graphs. This is the price range page, and then conclusion. And again, you had a conclusion option, and I'm going to go in and show you what that looks like for the team version where the eyes turned into weeds. So that is, now what you would do from there is you would choose File, and you would choose a Save As. Going back into my documents, what you will see here is I actually have, a custom CMA is the training, I actually have real live CMAs, and I just named them CMA dash the client's last name, and then choose save. So that CMA is always in my database in a CMA folder, and once I get that listing, I move it into a copy of, and I'm trying to get to where they are. Where's O? Okay. I'm passing O. LMNOP. Here we go. And as you can see, here's for Lincoln. And what I would do is I would move that into a folder. I have the photos in another folder and all the listing documents because, yes, I am paperless and use the fillable forms. So there you go. Now, the other thing that I want to do is just so that you can see what all of the pages look like, I do have samples. And then we're going to get into how to create the FSBO's expired buyer flyer and slideshow. But let's go to custom CMA for now because I am going to show you some of the pages. This is the buyer's tour. We're going to get into full-blown CMA. Let me see how big this file is. It's 21.1 megabytes. These are all of the pages, and you see just how large those files are. And this is a larger file, so I'm going to assume, I don't want to save. I want to cancel, and I want to go back. And we are going back. Yeah, and like I told you, my webinars are not pretty. You get to see everything that's in my computer. God bless you. But at least you get to see that, you know, everything that you need to create the presentation, save the presentation, and make sure that you have everything you need. Let's see. This is just the new pages. I don't want that one. That's really small. I believe it was this one that we were looking at. So we're going to open that up. And you'll see here I have all 52 pages. And this, again, is for demo purposes. I would never use all 52. It wouldn't make sense because a lot of them are duplicate. So we are now going to go down and just zoom to page level. And I just want to quickly show you what some of these look like on a page-by-page basis. So here is the listing presentation, the cover with the subject property. And I don't know why that didn't come up in there. If I have all 52 pages, it may be at the bottom. That's odd. We also have the letter. And then we've got some of the interior pages here. In fact, I'm going to go back just one step, and I'm going to open up this one because I want to see which one has the more updated pages. And I don't know if this is all of them. Looking at the beginning, though, as far as the columnar versus, I know I have that in here, so hold on one second. Let me just get it. This is the actual old version, but I do want to go in because the presentation, once you get through all the pretty stuff, here we go, is exactly the same. So this is the subject property page with property profile, with the picture. This is what the page would look like without the photo. So you can see it's a considerable difference when you're sitting with a seller. If you have an opportunity to get that front shot, this would be the place to do it. So again, those are the two options in the subject property pages. And I am pretty sure I have the three options here. Oh, it's not giving me my three options. We'll have to go in and look at that. But the three options, again, for the cover is the generic, which doesn't have any picture, just contact information, the agent photo one, or the one that I use, which has the subject property. I'm going to go down past the fluff and other stuff again. And these are, this is every page that is available, not that you would want to use because, again, it's repetitive. So if you have the comparative market analysis summary, this is what this looks like. The comparable map I always use. And then this is the 3 per. And now this is, if you have a more exclusive property, you may want to use this because you're not going to, you may not have 6 comps if you've got a $1 million plus property. You may only, good grief. I have no idea what that was. I had my finger hovering, I guess. So this is one property per page, and it does have a little bit more information. So if you have a lack of comps, this will at least keep that beefed up a little bit, because if you only got 3, you're only going to have one page, one page of comps. So again, this is just going to be all the ones I use in this particular. Here's your columnar, and this does not have the subject property in it right now. This is only the comps. But this one you'll see here, it has the subject property in, so it's highlighted, and this is where you're comparing your apples to apples, if that's something that you like them to see. A lot of people like to see those features side by side, and that's the way to do it there. And that's all of them. And we've got some graphs by status. Again, now here's your property price range. And then we've got some more fluff and other stuff, and then your conclusions. So all of that, again, is a personal preference. And I am going to go back to, hopefully, Toolkit right here and get back to the summary page. There we go. Back to the summary page. Now, from here, just to let you know, if you're looking through it and you say, oh, crud, I really wanted to use that page, but I completely forgot to include it, it is not the end of the world. Up here, these blue links, which are really like the back buttons, you can jump back more than one at a time. You can go right here to select presentation, and it's not going to delete anything you do because you're going to have the opportunity to, yes, keep the data. And at this point, if there was something that you wanted to include, let's just be crazy and check all, you would then check all, move on to next, and it's going to keep all of your information in here. So your seller information is, your prospect is the same. Your letter remains the same. You're just going to next your way all the way through. These all stay checked. They're the same exact comparables. We're going to next our way all the way through. Now, because I added all of the pages, that field for the summary CMA, that is the one with the tabs. This is the default fields here, and we'll go through. In fact, I believe you have, here we go, a click to preview on this page. So depending on the headers that you're looking to include, again, that would all rely on the property that you're selling. The headers are these little buttons up here, these little highlighted or bolded, underlined headers. And that is what you are choosing based off of the fields here. So you can go ahead and do a preview and see what it looks like. And if there were any fields that you wanted to add, you would just do it by going here and the arrow over. And if you wanted to delete a field, you would go here and arrow back. At this point, we are clicking on next. And again, with that, they have a default option. Now, here is the subject page. And again, because I included the photo, it assumed I wanted the property information on there. But you can choose to have it with or without and move on. Here's the price adjusted. With the price adjusted option, it only price adjusts solds, and that has nothing to do with your preferences. It's the system. So I don't use it if, I mean, it's great if you're only using sold properties. If you're one of those people that do CMAs based only on solds, then this page is awesome because you can go in and it'll recalculate based off of features, whether it be a percentage for years or days on the market, or here you've got property sizes. I mean, I picked everything in Lake Mohawks. Well, actually, this is all in Ogdensburg, so they're all postage stamp. But if you wanted to, let's say, you bi-level compared to a Cape Cod, you've got oil, hot wood, baseboard. All of them have wall. I mean, I obviously picked extremely comparable comps because they're all pretty much the same. But here you've got this one that's got a 2-car garage rather than just a 1. So you can make your adjustment here. And if you wanted to say it was $20,000, I'm taking any $2,000. I'm just taking a wacky guess and just putting any number. But I say it's $20,000. It will then recalculate so that when you moved on and it averaged it out, it's going to average it out at this bottom line number. And you'll see here, if I take that out and hit the tab button, that goes right back down to the original sale price. So again, if you're using the solds and solds only, I would absolutely use this page. I love price-adjusted CMAs. So this is where you would go ahead and do that. It does all the calculation for you. We're going to click on Next. And again, right now I'm showing you every page they have because I clicked on all of them. Here's your price range page again. This is the pricing strategy. Now, this is the one I would normally use, again, going back to the whole attorney thing. Because what I would do here is rather than suggest a list price, this property is market. I would change this to market value, and I would only have one number. And obviously, I would update the local market observations and the general rules to the situation that I was handing it to. And just to click to preview on this page as well, and it's going to yell at me when we get back because I don't have the number in here. This is what that page is going to look like, basically with the template. And again, I'm going to click on Next, and it's going to yell at me because I didn't put anything in there, but I don't care. I'm going to move on. Estimated net proceeds worksheet. Great, great, great tool if you're doing a short sale. Because you can go in here and put in all the information. Obviously, first mortgage, second mortgage, title insurance they don't have to pay. The brokerage fee they probably don't care about, and they're not going to do a home warranty policy. But you can either use this, or if you've got somebody kind of teetering on the short sale, and you get an offer, and you can actually go back in and use this page independently and come up with a net proceeds, a general net proceeds, and it does say approximate, so nobody's holding you to it. But I do like that page for that purpose. I typically do not use it in a standard listing presentation. I'm going to click on Next. Marketing plan of action. If you're getting new construction listings or something higher end, or another thing is if you have somebody, and we have a lot of these, that wants to list above your recommended price, and you say, okay, we're going to go with your number for 30 days, but I'm not going to sink a lot of money into the marketing. At 30 days, when you come down and do a price reduction, I'll do the broker open house and spend the $250 on food or whatever it is. This would be the place to do that. So it gives you could do first 30 days on market, and you put your generic stuff in here. Obviously, review showing tips, prepare a property flyer, all that nonsense can go in here. And then you do, after price reduction, broker open, blah, 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 or, whatever it is that you want to say, so that it's in the presentation and they're completely up to speed. Or, again, I use this a lot for new construction because anybody that's ever done it, they are looking for a marketing schedule, and that's exactly what this is. In fact, I would love that to say marketing schedule rather than plan of action. So we're going to then click on Next. And that's it. We've got our presentation. This is going to be a long one. I'm going to see what happens if I click in here and see how many pages I'd really like. And I guess we can just go back to that template, and maybe that's why it doesn't do it anymore, to show you what the team pages look like. And then we're going to move on. The other presentations, luckily for you, this is the longest one. The other one's 5 minutes, so we should be good to go, hopefully on time. And it is doing the team version. Awesome. So it is choosing all the pages that I had. I don't know if it's going to do it for the cover and the subject because I chose a photo, and I think that automatically defaults you to the photo on those two options. But I don't really think that's major important. You can go ahead and preview that once you're up and running. I have to go in and check my settings. All of a sudden, Firefox stopped automatically opening this in Adobe, and it gives me this program, and then I have to switch it to Adobe, but that doesn't really, there we go, thank you. Okay, and there we go, much better. Now we're going to do our view, and I'm going to go to page level so that you're not all cross-eyed. So here we go. We have the generic cover page. We have the cover page with subject property, and then the one with agent photo, whichever one I'm going to use. Letter, and then this is every page. This is one of the new pages here, support staff, call coordinators. These are all some of the new pages that we've got coming up. I think Vanessa did an awesome job. We did, and I know it doesn't maybe look that way, but we did try to take some of that deeper blue out and put a little bit more white because we were all killing our blue ink when we were printing these out on our own. But you'll see here that we've got different pages. We're going to go through, and we've got our HSA, the YUs, but you have services. Where I wanted to go in were some of the differences in, again, subject property, no photo, subject property with photo. Huge difference. And the content is the same. So there's really not a lot of blank space, but it doesn't look as nice as the one with the photo on it. Here is your side-by the comparative market analysis summary. That's where we were choosing the headers and the titles on here. So you can see what that looks like. Your mapping, 3 on a page, 1 on a page. This is all the same comps that I was using earlier. And then you've got your side-by-side columnar, and then the one with subject. We're moving down. We've got our graphs. We've got our different pricing. We've got our range. We've got our strategy. This is what the proceeds sheet would look like, marketing plan of action. This page I don't use because it's blinding and I'm old and I can't see it, but preparing your home, which is recommended tips on what to do to get your house to sell. Want an appointment. Now here's what the resume, obviously not fully, would look like incorporated into the actual presentation. Same with references. You've got your singular conclusion, and then you've got the we conclusion, which is the T. So that's it as far as the listing presentation. Yes, you can save that. No, you would not be using that one for your slideshow. We're going to move on, and I'm going to choose no right now because I already have a presentation saved with that name. So we're back to the beginning, as I always do. We're going to be looking at presentations again. As far as we're not going to do a listing presentation, we're actually going to scoot over here. There are expired and FSBO packages built in. They look fairly much the same. The cover letter is different, and you'll notice that there are no pages in here to incorporate GSMLS because we're not doing comparables. We're not doing the CMA. So basically what you have is a choice of pretty pages. My recommendation to you is not to use every page because you're going to want to save something for the day that you actually get a listing appointment. So I would go with the generics. And what I mean by that is like we go in here and we look at some of the pages. We have some statistics, some buyer statistics, and then the call to action that we use to address them. My recommendation would be to limit it to those pages. So here you go, you've got mobile marketing system. You've got consumer stats, the 93%, 8 out of 10, and then how our marketing addresses those consumer stats. So again, I would really limit to 5 or 6 pages because you're going to get them on a listing presentation and they're going to have seen it all. So you're going to be talking and they're going to be staring at something because they've already looked at that page and they're not hearing what you have to say as far as an explanation of that page. Just my recommendation, everybody has the opportunity to do whatever it is that they want to. But again, I would limit on, on some of the basics. Even like the internet marketing channel, I would probably include that, and then the calls to action. And then more about you, because you're really, this is your hand raised on the pick me, let me come in and talk about, what we can offer. So maybe you should beef up the resume a little bit. And again, I'll show you how I do mine towards the end. So again, with this FSBO and listing presentation, pretty much the FSBO and the expire presentation, with the exception of the cover letter, are exactly the same. I'm going to give you a little bit of cheat here because there is you get a 30-day free trial. For anybody that hasn't used it, you get a 30-day free trial on Toolkit. After 30 days, if you decide to continue using it, and it is completely up to you, there is a $39 one-time setup fee, and then it's $10 per month for unlimited use as long as you use it. So if there's a month that you're not using it, there is no $10 charge. My hint, and don't tell Kyle, is for anyone that hasn't used it yet to go into both the FSBO, the expired, and possibly even the buyer presentation. It doesn't look as good, but if you're just trying to get your business kick-started and you want something a little bit more substantial, I'm a door knocker. If you want to mail it, completely up to you, but face-to-face to me is always the way to go. What I would recommend is going in and choosing I'm going to leave it the way it is because it's got everything in here. But as we did before, click on the very first one, and then, choose which ones that you want to include. Again, I wouldn't include everything. No, there is no 69. It's 39. Dave is sending me a text with questions. It's a $39 fee one time. I reconfirmed that with Kyle because he wanted to make sure that I was saying it properly. What happened, Dave, is people were getting billed at $39 and then a couple of months. But it is $39 setup fee and then $10 a month, again, if you use it. Going back to my cheat, going in here, choosing the pages, and again, I would limit it to, I wouldn't go through all this. Nobody's going to read it, and again, you've got nothing to dazzle them with once you're there. So go in, pick your couple of pages, save it as your default. I think I have all of them saved as a default only because I use this more for demo than anything else. But let's just say that that's what you wanted to use here. You know what? I'm going to clear all, and I'm only going to pick 3 or 4 because otherwise you guys will be here all day. I don't want any of this. I do want this. I don't want any of this. I think the mobile marketing system was one of the ones that I liked. Interactive marketing I kind of like. And where else are we here? Maybe websites. Why use a realtor is always a good one, especially if it's a FSBO. They're going to want to know what it is. We're not going to get into the value of their home because the last thing you want to do is start by scaring them off. The reason they didn't list with us to begin with is because they don't want to pay anything. So I'm going to go through here, but I would choose references and resume, and then click through next. Prospect, I'm just going to keep doing this because it makes my life easy. Actually, let's go back just 1 second. To go into the cheat, what I call the cheat, it's not really a cheat, let's go to prospect. So let's just say you're on your 30-day free trial and you would really like to utilize these, but you're not in a position to get the full service. You're in your 30-day free trial, clear this out. I'm going to reset it, and what happens is, hopefully it'll work. Let's just reset it. Delete all this information, including the date. You don't want to date it because it puts an expiration on the presentation. Leave the information blank. The system does allow for it. So I'm going to delete this, and I'll show you what it's going to look like. And then you can save it to either a USB, or you can save it to your desktop or your laptop or whatever it is you got going on. And this can be done in the slideshow version as well. So I'm going to click the next button here, and that's it. So right now, what we're going to do is create presentation. It's going to take 2 seconds because I picked maybe 4 or 5 pages. And again, with this PDF thing. Okay. All right, we're just going to leave it at the moment. And so what you're doing, and I don't know what happened here, if it just didn't open up at all. There it is. Or it's just taking its time. It's taking its time. So now we've got that FSBO and or expired. I'm not going to do both because, again, they're pretty much identical with the exception of the cover letter. We are going to zoom to page display. I don't know what is going on here. That looked like a completely different option than I've ever seen before. Zoom to page level. That's what I'm looking for. So you've got your cover page with agent photo. You've got a couple of razzle dazzle, the internet marketing system. Again, stats and how we address them. Same thing here and here. This is just to show them that, what we do with our information. The why use a realtor, my resume, my references, and a conclusion. So now you're looking at this, and you're going to choose. And again, the one thing that, you'll notice, and it's not going to have an especially prepared for. However, I'm going to give you a cheat for that as well. So we're going to go into File, and we're going to choose Save As. I'm going to save it to my desktop just because it's easier for me. I'm going to just put it in my box. And I'm going to do a test on this. And I'm showing you guys stuff that no one's ever seen before, so hopefully I'm not making you cross-eyed. But now I have this saved. So if I wanted to, now it's a regular PDF in my system. If I wanted to add a comment, I can go right here, and I can choose text. I am only in Adobe Reader 11. This is a free product. You'll all need it to download your fillable forms anyway. It is free. If you don't have it, get it. But I am not using any paid-for products on this at all. My software is exactly what you guys use. And again, totally free. So I would choose here to add text comment. If you wanted to do this, and in the especially prepared for, you can add text, and you can change the size. Up here will allow you, if you scoot up, you'll see I've got font, I've got font size, I've got font type, and then you've got spacing. But Mr. and Mrs. Robert Smith. So you can actually take the free version, personalize it so that that's not completely blank. If you wanted to make it in red, I don't know that you can actually change the color of the text. This just makes it larger, so you can do that. If you want to just beef that up a little bit, which looks a heck of a lot nicer. And again, this is completely free. So now, and you'll see here what I said earlier, how my website is kind of long, so it goes from page to page. You might want to take a look at that. I would go in, and I'm actually going to change it to my donnaspinetta.com because I use both. But right now, so if you download that once, you've got it on your hard drive. Again, doesn't matter, laptop, desktop, all in one. If you want to go ahead and do it, and then move it over to and email it and put it on a tablet, we'll show you what the one looks like when you can do the screenshots of the slideshow. But again, one time, you can print them as you need them. You're not going into Toolkit. You're not incurring those $10 until you build your business. Once you build your business, if you're not using this as a CMA tool, you're out of your mind because this is the most professional piece. And quite frankly, I know that our competitors are using it. I know that Prudential is using it. I know that Remax is using it. Wykert's got their own whole doors thing. I'm not exactly sure what that looks like for their leave behind. I think I've only seen once in my life. But in any case, so you've got a way to make it personal without leaving this completely blank. If you wanted to add the located at, there's not that much space here, but you can do it a little bit smaller. So let's just say I decided I wanted to do it and it's 123 Main Street. I'm just going to click the button here, and I'm going to make this one smaller. But I think what happens is it's an all or nothing situation. Oh, no, this will let me make this one smaller. So I can actually go in and make this one a little smaller. And now I've totally made that personal. Again, it didn't cost me anything. Downloaded all of these, and you would do it on the buyer. You're going to do it on your buyer presentation. You're going to do it on your expired, and you're going to do it on your FSBO. You're going to go out there, and you're going to get your business, and that's it. Obviously, and I don't know how, you're not going to be able to do it on the CMA because you need to get comparables and all that other stuff. But again, to generate some business and make it worth your while to go in there and do that market analysis, this is a way around it and just getting it that proposal in there. So it's custom branded to you. It's got all your contact information. You now have a way through Reader, no additional cost, to get the consumer's name and get the property address in there. And that's it as far as the buyer and expire goes. Actually, that's FSBO, expired, and buyer, but I do want to touch on the buyer a little bit more. So I'm going to just, no, I don't want to save. I mean, you can then save it, or you can just print it from there. We're going to move on. Now, all of a sudden, the thing opened up 3 times. We're going to move on just to keep this time down, and we're going to go back to the home screen. Now, when you get into, I don't want to save it, when you get into the presentations and you get into the buyer, you're going to see that you've got 3 buyer options, okay? If you're just doing a buyer consultation and you don't have any properties picked out to show, you're just going to want to do the buyer presentation, which is here. If you are an ABR, and that's the only time that I would recommend that you actually use the buyer representative presentation, is if you have your ABR, because if you look and read carefully the verbiage, it really is for you and for you only. So again, if you're not out there showing properties, if this is not going on just before you're out to pick, the buyer presentation, and again, you can do the exact same thing. You'll notice that there's not a whole hell of a lot in here. And we'll get into how you can beef that up, personalize. It's a very basic, and then you've got your presentation conclusion again with the team and the singular. You can do the same thing with the downloading the generic and then filling it in at a later date. So again, getting your feet wet, getting back into the business, you know, not having a closing every week and you want to save some money, that would be the way to do it. The one that I like is the buyer's tour. And you'll see it doesn't have a lot of pages, but we are going to work on it because it does include the listings. And because I deleted the last prospect, it's not there, so I'm going to have to type something in. I don't know why I cared whether that was upper or lower, because it's just you guys. We're going to go in and actually put in my property information. So I am now the client, and we're going to click on Next. And you'll notice that now you have an opportunity, again, to pull in some GSMLS information. So my clients are looking for a residential property. Same exact thing here. You can go through and pick the properties and use the Save Search, or you can search while you're in here. Completely up to you. I don't know what the heck I just did there, but I'm going to connect to the MLS. I'm going to go right back in, and I have to tell you, this is about a year and a half old as far as Realty Tools goes, as far as the program goes. And when I first saw this thing, I absolutely fell in love with it. And I'm really into presentation and what you can do with it. So here I'm going to go back to the Save Search, and hopefully my GSMLS will play nice. Oh, results. I'm going to use that same one just because it's easier. Only this time I am only going to check off the active listings because we are going to see these particular properties. So I'm going to click on Narrow here. Same format as far as the downloading. We're going to choose the download. This is going to act the same exact way that I did the last time, only now I know where to find it. So we're going to log out. We're going to close it out. We're going to click on the Browse, and we are going to go to my downloads file because that's where mine goes. Again, you need to be mindful about yours. And this one has the time stamp right on it, so I know that that's my new download. I'm going to choose open, and I'm going to upload the file. So those 2 active properties are going to come in. This is one of the quickest reports that you're going to see today. Okay, I answered that question. Somebody came in on text. I wanted to make sure it wasn't you guys telling me you couldn't see. We're going to click on the check all, and we're going to move on to the next. Now, where this page comes in, because I know it looks very similar to the one that I just nexted on, you can then put them in order of showing, and you'll see why when we get to the end of the presentation. Again, love it. And the same goes for if you know that there's other features. I'm going to go back just one more on the select properties. You can still edit here. So if you've already called the listing agent on these to make your appointment to show, which I hope you have, and there's something going on with the property, they've just finished, the oil tank is now out of the ground, you can go ahead in and edit those details just like you were able to do earlier, and you can edit the features that you know have been changed or take out any of the remarks that may or may not apply any longer, because it does pick up all of the remarks. So great weekender home. If you're looking at somebody that's looking at this and they're going to be their primary residence, I kind of think that's a little insulting because it sounds like they're buying a home that maybe is not up to par. So if that's the case, which makes no sense since it's 1 hour to New York City, I don't know, I guess they're coming to New York for the weekend, you may want to take that out if they're looking for a primary residence. It's little subtle things that may make or break it. I'm not going to make any changes now because I don't feel it's necessary. But just to show you that you can edit, again, if there's been any improvements or if there's work that is showing pending on MLS but is now completed, you can put that in there. And then again, we're going back and forth as far as desired home profile. Not something that I go crazy with because you're going to want to do this before you get to this point. But if you want to fill it in where it will come in handy, it looks pretty much just like the seller subject marketing. But where it will come in handy is you do get a side-by-side or apple-to-apple comparison page for them to look at. So they'll see just how, and you'll see here, property comparison. If you fill out the desired home information, they're going to get an apple-to-apple here with the style. So if they're not looking for a log home, which I wouldn't be because even though I like the way they look, not big on the maintenance. And the central air and how many garages, you'll see here that this is detached, this is attached, that's one of their features. They would get just a really quick view of what features match or which property matches their desired features better. So that's where that would come in handy if you wanted to fill it in. I'm just going to move forward and click on next. And that's as fast as that happened. But I am going to click on the create because I do want to show you what that looks like. Where I use this, again, I'm a presentation person, so I had purchased on my own the 2-Pocket Realty Executives folders. If you don't have them, talk to your manager because they were so dirt cheap. What we ended up doing in the Sparta office about 6 months ago was we all chipped in because we bought them in bulk, and the more you buy, the cheaper it is, and they come cellophaned in 25 increments. So if you get a bunch of people together and you have a big order, you all just pay and take 25 at a time, and I think it was, fairly sufficient. If you need more, God bless you again, but by all means, order more. But that is something that we ended up doing. We did that a lot as far as buying bulk with presentation material. Anything that was not branded to the agent, we would buy in bulk as a group and then split it up just to cut down on some of the cost. Just something to think about, not pushing the folders. It's completely up to you. But I would take this, I would put it in a slide report binder or presentation binder, just that clear plastic. It would go in a slide rule, and then it would go into the 2-pocket folder with my business card, my pen, and where you can see that will come in. And again, this whole different viewer thing with me is making me nuts. Sometimes it populates automatically, and other time it doesn't. I'm going to have to go in and fix that because it's going to make me crazy. But let's just go to the Zoom page view. So now you've got your property tour cover sheet, and then we're going to page down. And what it has is now each property, did I skip it? No. Each property has its own page. You have the front cover. You have the client remarks. So this is where if you wanted to take that out, this would no longer display in here if you were modifying. you've got a map of the property, and this is that aerial view. This looks a little bit different than typically this would be online prior to making that change in preference. This would not be an aerial view like this. It would be like a Google map almost looking view. So this is the difference, and toggle back and forth when you choose your preferences and see which one you like. You've got some basic features. You've got the client remarks from MLS. You've got the front photo. You've got the map, and depending on your preferences, depend on the map. And then there's a place for them to write comments. So as you guys are going through the homes, when they're finished looking at the home, they can just jot little notes down with the pen with your name on it and your phone number, and put it back in your file. They can jot little notes down, so when they, when they're sitting down and they're looking at the homes and they're deciding on what they're going to do, it's fresh. It was fresh in their mind. They wrote down the comments. Didn't like the stain on the rug and whatever it is, or absolutely love the lake view, whatever the case may be. And then it does that for each house that you're going to see. And then you've got an overall map comparing the properties, so you can see the distance and where each one is located. And then you've got that side by side. Like I said, if you filled out the desired home profile, you've got that apples to apples comparison. And that's your last page. I guess I didn't choose the conclusion, but there is a conclusion page in here. Buyer map, property comparison. And that's 5 of 5. I'm going to close that out, and I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to go back real quick to presentation. Yes, keep the data. No, that's it. So you've got that was the last page. I thought there was a conclusion page in here or a buyer blurb. You can add one, but that's the entire package. Again, one of the presentations that I fell in love with and is fairly new. This is our listing slideshow. There is a place in here at the very beginning for flyers. I'll show you quickly on the way out. But the next thing I want to do is talk about the presentation page template. I had said, and I say all the time, how I go a little custom, how I prefer the resume that I have, which is in a Word document, as well as my references and anything that's special to you. If you've got a designation and you want to put a description of that designation in your profile, however, whatever it is, if you've got a certificate that you've got on a PDF and you want to include that in there, but you want it to all look uniform, this is the place to do it. So presentation page template, it's showing as a presentation, but it's one page, and you click on next. What I did in here, you don't even need prospect information. I have absolutely no idea why that populates in because it doesn't print anywhere. What I did was I just went on next, and I have it saved in my computer, and all it is a blank page. So it has the header and your custom footer on it. You'll see there's the header, and then there's your custom footer, and it blends in with the presentation. You print it out, and you put it back in your printer, and you use it as letterhead. And then you can combine it with the rest of your presentation, and this, again, would be more for the beefed up one. I wouldn't do this on every single presentation. But when you get to the listing or maybe the buyer tour, if you want to add a little something in there, you can add a little something in there, and this is the way that you would do that. So again, you can go further and not look like, Joe that sits in the desk next to you at Realty Executives. You can customize yours a little bit further if you're so inclined by printing this out. Again, I have this saved in my presentation file on my hard drive. Print it out, put it back in as stationery, and then just make sure that your documents are configured within the guidelines so that it's not overlapping on the header or the footer. And typically, if you use an 1.5 inches and an 1.5 inches for your top and bottom margin, you should be safe. Just print it out one time, hopefully black and white, so you're not wasting a lot of color, and make sure that it works for you. And then again, you can do that all at one time and leave them on the side. I know a lot of agents that do that as well. They have their personal, if they don't want to use their color ink and they have a personal preference, you can go to Staples and get a bunch of color, the standard pages printed out, and then only print the ones that are necessary. Again, I have a little anal personality, and I like all my pages to match. So if the paper texture is a little different, it'll get on my nerves, but it's everybody's personal preference again. So that is how you can utilize that presentation page template to customize it even further than the company has for you. We're going to go back home. I'm not going to save it. And we're going to move on, and we're just about done here, so hopefully we'll get you on with your day before 11:30 comes. So now we're going back into presentations, and this is where we're getting into the listing slideshow. And again, it is comparable. I have all of them checked in here so you can see what it looks like. I don't want to set that as my default, but I'm going to do recommended price range. You'll see that the pages are pretty much the same as they are with, oh my gosh, you know what, I'm not going to choose all of these because I just think it's absolutely insane to go through and pick all of them. No, I'm not in love with that page. I don't know what it is about this page. And I have clients that use that all the time. I'm just not in love with that page. Activity versus timing. I like this one, the effective overpricing. We'll leave that on here. I'm not going to do the single. I'm not going to do the columnar. And I am going to do the price range, property grass is fine. Okay. I'm just going to really quickly set that as my default just for fun. And we're going to move on, and we can use some of the last prospect, hopefully. We're going to use some of the same stuff. So again, this is, this will, and you'll see towards the end, I know this is not going to let me use it. It's going to put me in there. Yeah, that's fine. Don't even care. We're going to click on, bugger. I thought it would pick, oh, you know what? I did pick up my zip code. I don't know why. It usually does. Click on next. And I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to connect to the MLS here. And I'm just going to use that those same exact properties so we don't have to get crazy. And in the interest of time, it all works. So I'm going to my search. I'm going to view results. I'm choosing the custom CMA. Viewing. Picking them all. Clicking that download. I got to get in there and clean my download file down. And I'm doing the save file. And it's saved. I'm logging out. I'm closing out. I am browsing my file. And we know that we've gone even one step further. Is that the right one? Oh, no, it's up here. Download 6. Yep, that's the right one. And we're going to open it, and we're going to upload it. I didn't choose that many pages, I hope, and these are a little bit smaller as far as size goes on the PDF, just because they're landscaped and they're configured for it. We're going to check all, not going to make any changes. Looks exactly like the listing presentation. So you have your options here. I may not select, so I've maxed out my fields here, which is fine. Show all available fields. Nope, we'll move over. And this would be the subject properties. And I think it was Sparta. I have absolutely no idea. We'll just put it in here. I think I chose mostly buy levels, so we'll put buy levels in here. Beds were 3, bouts were 2. Heating system, hot water, baseboard, and again, this is just heat source is oil, and we've got window units. Well, I'm not making that house very attractive, am I? We're going to go in, and we're going to go to the house photos, and I'm just going to pick anything, because it doesn't matter. I was using Lincoln before, but we can go ahead and pick in pretty much anything we want. Yeah, this house is actually in Sparta. I was the buyer's agent on that one. We're going to pretend this is the house. Come on. I'm uploading. Okay, cool. We're going to click on next. I would love that house in that price range in Sparta. Not going to happen, but we're going to move on. Okay, so now we've got the create the slideshow. If you choose create the slideshow, that's PowerPoint. So you would need PowerPoint, and I'll click on it, and then I'll go back again. You will need PowerPoint to utilize this particular slideshow. I'm going to get it out for, let's see what we got here. Come on. Again, I didn't think this presentation was that large. And I don't have a lot of people here using my internet. Click you go. And there you go. So you have your open with Microsoft PowerPoint, and that's the default for the program. I happen to have PowerPoint, so I'm going to go ahead and just show any PowerPoint users what that looks like, and then we'll click back to the summary, and we'll get that PDF started. Hopefully this will open sooner rather than later. There's open slideshow. I'm going to move on here while that's taking its time and then show you what the slideshow looks like. Now the slideshow, there we go. Now PowerPoint is opening because I decided to move on. And there you go. So that just merged right into my PowerPoint program. And you can see this is what the slide looks like. If you went into slideshow and chose from the beginning, that's what it would look like if you were presenting it in PowerPoint format. Although it's not the ugliest, no, I'm kidding. I'm going to hit escape on this one. I'm going to close this out without saving it. And now I am going to close this out because we didn't need it. Go back to the summary page. And in this point, I am going to go back to create. No, I don't want to do that. I want to do a view presentation here. Let's go to create presentation is where I want to be. So now we're back to where we would create the presentation, and rather than the slideshow, which again is PowerPoint, if you're going to put this on a tablet, and it doesn't matter which one, you want the PDF. Unless you have a Windows tablet, which I don't know anybody in the company that does at the moment. If you have a Windows tablet with PowerPoint, go for it. Otherwise, the PDF of the slideshow is the best possible option, and this is what I use on my Droid, and I believe what Kyle uses on his iPad. So and then again, you can use that on any program. So if you're on your laptop and you don't have the PowerPoint view, or you don't have PowerPoint or PowerPoint viewer, this is exactly what you're going to want to be looking at. I know I hit this button too soon the last time, and it opened up 45 times, so I'm not going to do it. And then I've got to do a best practice as far as if you're not using, talk while this is being downloaded. If you're using Internet Explorer, not a bad thing, but if you are, you need to utilize, and I'm going to go in and show you what that looks like. You need to utilize IE Spell. If you noticed any of the areas that allowed for a change in content did not have a spell check, the last thing you want to do is go through all the trouble of putting together a beautiful presentation and have a spelling error. So number one, proof your work, because even if it's spelled properly, it could be the wrong word. Hate that even more. But on Firefox, on Safari, on Google Chrome, there are built-in, and you'll see it if I right-click on mine. Actually, this doesn't have any content. On the change content option, I'll go in and show you what that looks like. I'm working on Firefox, so if you're on Firefox, you can see it. It's pre-built in. But again, if you're on a tablet, if you're on a laptop without PowerPoint, here is what that slideshow would look like, and it's completely set in landscape, and that presentation is coming out. I'm actually going to put one on my Android as soon as we're finished, so that when I have my tablet out, we can all see what that looks like working on an actual tablet. So this is what it's going to look like. Again, if you're using it on your laptop, this is a better presentation, and if you're working on any one of the tablets, also a better presentation. So that's it in a nutshell as far as that goes, but a couple of things as far as best practice. Let's just get out of all of this. I want to go to the, I'm going to go home. No, I don't want to save it. I'm going to go to presentations, and I am going to really quickly zippity-doo-dah through the listing presentation. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm only going to go to the second page, which is the letter. So right here, you'll see that you can change any of this stuff that you want. Blah, 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 blah. You can change it all. But there is no spell check. And that's a problem. Again, on Safari, on Firefox, and Chrome, it's built in. So now you'll see if you right check on any of those products and you don't have a check mark next to check spelling, make sure that that checkbox is there. And what will happen is, as I'm typing and I'm creating spelling errors, it gives you a red underline. So you know that this is not spelled properly. So if you hover over it and you right-click again, it will tell you the possible words that you might be spelling. Of course, I'm not spelling either one of them there. If you're using Internet Explorer, you have to download a product called IE, short for Internet Explorer Spell. That's IE Spell, period. If you go into a Google search, if you go into a Yahoo search and type in IE Spell, you are going to want to download the CNET, C-N-E-T version. I know it's safe. I use it myself. And what happens there is you would have to then go into, on Internet Explorer, up over here, there's a tools option. This will not highlight in red, so you're not going to know it's spelled incorrectly. You'd have to go to the tools option and click on the tools, and under tools, it will say spell check. And then you're going to click on that spell check, and it's going to run through a regular like Word spell check in there. It'll highlight the words that are incorrect, make recommendations on proper spelling, and obviously it's only going to work as close as you are, and then make your changes. And that's going to go for any place that has this type of box. That's the email section. That's the marketing plan of action section. Anything that will allow you to change verbiage you're going to want to go in and do that spell check. So that's it for me as far as the product is. I don't know, did I write down anything that I was, let me know if I had promised to show you something and didn't actually show it to you, because I'm notorious for saying I'm going to show you that at the end and I don't actually go in and do it. So again, raising your hand, you've got a little virtual hand if you want to go ahead and do that if you have a question, or you can just go into that, okay, Maureen, I'm going to open up your mic, Maureen, you can ask live. What's up?
Okay, I was more interested. I've used Toolkit before, but I got a lot of new stuff this time. But the brochures, I tried doing up some brochures, and I just was hoping you'd go over that.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely can. And you're right, I actually did. So let's go into the flyers. I'm muting you back up again. I'm going to go to Home. I am not saving this. I am going to go back. And you'll have here the property flyers as an option. So let's choose property flyers. I stick with the blue colors because it makes sense for our logo and it kind of all matches, but you do have, and it'll tell you here 8 bullets, headline remarks, QR code, blah, 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 blah. One recommendation to use this, because obviously we have the girls on our listings doing our flyers, but where this really comes in handy is if you're going to show, create your own buyer flyers, because this does sit on GSMLS. Perfectly legal. It'd be no different than printing out the client copy of the GSMLS. You're not trying to steal. You're not claiming the listing as your own. But rather than having your client take a listing flyer from a property that you're going to show that has all of the listing agent content on it, you can create your own, just like you could in MLS. There is a client flyer that you can create when you're going to take a client out. Only this one to be completely branded to you. And looks a lot prettier than the one that comes out of GSMLS, to be honest with you. So let's pick something that's not so crazy. This is 11 bullets remarks from MLS. Let's go back to something that, again, doesn't have so many. And we'll stick with the blue color. So let's go back. Yeah, we'll take this one back. We're going to click on Create This Flyer. You go right to your GSMLS, connect to MLS, same as we always did. It's a simple download, just like anything else. I don't always love them. If you're doing your own, meaning your own property, I would change the photo because it's coming in MLS form. So I'm going to go right back to that view saved, and let's just say I made my buyer packet, and I want to make flyers for those 2 active listings. Obviously, I'm only going to choose one. I'm going to go in, and I'm going to choose this property like anything else. We are going to do the download again, and I haven't had time to clean that up, so we're looking at probably number 7. And we're going to choose on save. And again, I'm logging out. I'm getting out of here. I'm clicking on browse. I'm going to my downloads, which is where mine goes. We've got number 7. We've got open. We've got upload. If I do that enough times, it'll sink in. And you'll say, okay, she just kept clicking here, here, here. I do it really slow the first time. The rest of the way, you're on your own. No, I'm kidding. And you can add manually if there's a, if you're doing a one-time show and you really want to get crazy with yourself. But I'm going to click on next. And here you'll see that the information did merge in. Again, with this great weekend home, if you want to go, weekender, is that even in the word? But I'm going to get rid of all of this because we don't really care. We want to know that it's a lodge. They're into the crane home, so it's a crane home. You can add your own. Again, if there's something about the property that you know, I don't know, a 3-2 means nothing to a client, so you can go ahead and do 3-bedroom. Although I think I think it has it up here because it does pull in that information. You wanted to do your own headline. Here's the opportunity to do that. You can change some of the verbiage. It does have how many characters because it is based And then you have some photo options. It usually, no file selected, it usually will, here we go, download some of the files here. So we're going to clear the code. I'm not going to use the code. I'm going to just do a create flyer so that you can see what that looks like real quick. And then you have the opportunity, if it's your own, you're not going to want to do it if it's your not, to post to Twitter or Facebook from here. But just to go in and show you what that looks like and the changes that you can make. So here you go, not my listing, but I'm taking out a client, and this looks to me a lot better than it would if you were giving them their own flyer. So here you go here. You don't have any additional photos. It's just the one. I don't know if that particular property offered, and I will go back to the select the flyer to see if that, see that had the others in here. You have to do that manually. So again, if it's your flyer, you have the photos, go for it. If it's not your listing, I would just choose one that'll work with just the one photo in it. Maybe this one here, because if you like that, it's the seashore. I'm not exactly selling Sussex County on that picture. But pick something that makes sense and only has, this one's actually pretty nice. This has got the bullets and it's only got the one photo in the middle and all of the content in it, and it's completely branded for you if you're using a buyer flyer. So I'm going to look over and I'm going to take you off. Maureen, did that answer your question, or did you have something more specific?
No, that was good.
Okay, awesome. So now I'm going to open it up to anyone else that has any questions. Again, you can either type it in the box if you don't have audio, or you can raise your hand. I'm going to go to the attendee list here. I'm going to go to the question box and see if there's anything in there. If you, oh, yes, you're right. I absolutely did. The cover page with the signature. Let's go into that. Thank you, Juanita. What you would do is you have to have it saved in your computer. And again, it can be on your hard drive or it can be on a disk. See, thank you, because I did promise that I would do that, and I didn't. I didn't go ahead and do that. So let's open up that custom CMA. Or even, you know what, the heck, I don't think there's a cover letter on the buyer's door. So let's open up that custom CMA. I'm going to close it in. And I, again, am on Adobe Reader. No special program, no special cost, basic caca that everybody else looks at. So I'm going to go on to that, and I did, and I'll show you one of the ones that I did it on, because my four Lincoln, everything was done via email. I haven't seen him in 5 years. And when I took that listing, it's all being done through fillable forms, and I sent him a copy of the CMA and actually signed it before I sent it there. So let's just go to view, and I want you to be able to zoom. I want you to be able to see at page level, and I am going to go to, here's my letter. So now I'm doing this, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to send this via email or Dropbox, however it is I want to send it, but nobody wants to send it out without the signature. So again, up over here, you've got tools, you've got sign, you've got comment. Tools is awesome if you want to actually go in. This opens and does this box. But you also have, when you go into the comment, you've also got a place to highlight. I do highlighting all of the time when I'm sending things over. This is a great opportunity if you're sending a property change form, where if somebody's withdrawing their property, I do a yellow highlight on that little section in the GSMLS form that says that they are still binded to the contract terms. But in this particular case, I'm going to choose the sign option, and you have a place signature, because this doesn't have, see, ours has, you'll see I obviously have one already done. This does not have a signature box, so please don't confuse this with our fillable forms, which has the signature dedicated area. This one does not. So in this particular case, I'm doing a place signature. Obviously, I've done it before, and I am going to hit this. You can then size it if you want to make it a little bit bigger. It's really simple and really cool. And at this point, you would just click and save it. I'm saving it right to the same exact place, in the same exact spot, and with the same name. Do I want to send the signed document? I'm going to choose not now. But then I can go ahead, and it looks a lot nicer. That it has a signature on it, and it is in a script format, so it doesn't look exactly the same. You have a place to do the same thing with initials, adding check boxes, adding text. This is where you can do all of this, or you've also got the comment. Again, I do not have any purchase programs. I am using the same Adobe free download, which is Reader 11, I believe. I think it's the XI version. that anyone else has. And you can mark it up and you can erase stuff, and it really does allow for a lot more than it's ever done before. And I just want to go through here really quickly to see if this particular one is the older version, and it doesn't have the cover letter on it. But again, with the expired, now the expired does. So if you are downloading that free expired, you can do exactly the same thing here. You can go ahead and sign and add your signature, place signature. You're going to put it right there, and there's your permanent signature. And so now on those generic ones that you downloaded on your free trial, you also have the signature on it, and it works after or before. It doesn't really matter. So I am hoping that thank you, that answered that question. I've got Elizabeth. Is there a cover page? Where are we? Is there a cover page with the house photo and agent photo? No. As lovely as your face is, it's one or the other. So it's either the house photo or your agent photo. There isn't one that has both of them on there. And what else do we have? We've got Juanita asking about the signatures, and then you're welcome. I am going to go back to the attendee list. And Elizabeth, I'm going to open you up. Was that your question? Elizabeth, that was your only question, or did you have another one because you're in two places?
No, I was trying to start to do it by voice, and then I stopped because I realized you were going to be able to read it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could do either one. All righty. I'll take your hand down. So did that answer your question? You just did, yeah, just the three. What's that?
Don't you think you ought to talk to them? And it should be, if it's going to have the house photo, it should also have the agent photo?
We could talk to them about that. I actually have, I'm going to put you back on mute just because I'm getting some feedback. I actually have, Doug had, there's another company local, I'm not going to mention any names, that uses Toolkit. And we were able to get a hold of the PDF version just to see what it looked like. Quite frankly, our custom, and I do have my opinion always, if you haven't met me, I like our custom pages a lot better. But what I did notice with theirs that ours doesn't have is the theme or the header footer is continued from the pages, from the cover page all the way through. And so I did put that in front of Doug and say, you know what, I kind of like the fact that their theme is the same all the way through. And I don't think that ours has that same feel. Again, although I find that we have this here. I don't love this. So I don't know, and yes, I know, Elizabeth, the flag. I'm not asking him to take the flag off, so please don't panic. But they used more of a, rather than the header footer, they had everything on a sidebar, and it just, to me, seemed to flow better. I'm not exactly sure what it was about it that seemed to flow better, but it seemed to flow better. But it was the most boring presentation I've ever, it was a snooze fest, not ours, theirs. So maybe that's the difference. Maybe we do have a lot of color and a lot of images where theirs didn't, and that may have been the difference itself and why it didn't look as uniform. But again, it was quite boring, so I'm not upset at the difference between the two. So let's see what I have. I do have another question. Where do you pull Adobe? Yes, actually it's just adobe.com. I can go ahead and show you that. We can go in and pull that up. I'm going to open up another tab. So if you actually just Google Adobe Reader, you need to be careful with these downloads because everybody is trying to, and here's our 11, so I was correct, it is 11 at this point. Make sure that you're downloading from Adobe because you'll see, this just say adobereader.com may not be the Adobe product, and I find that that's when people end up with viruses or these wacky toolbars that keep redirecting them. Please make sure it's Adobe, and it's very easy to tell. Their logo this is really Adobe. So Adobe.com for anyone that is inclined to do this. No, we're not looking at this one. This is the free download. Get the free leading software for viewing PDF profiles. So it's adobe.com/products/reader.html right here, and you're going to choose. Oh, Mamma Mia. You're going to choose this download option right here and follow it through, and that is what's going to allow you, first of all, if you don't have it, you need it for our forms, and any other PDF, but this is the most updated version. And the most updated version, all of a sudden, is what included all that comment and texting and signatures. It never had that before. So that it may just be specific. I think it may have had some of it in 10, but 11 is definitely more beefed up. So that's where you're going to go to get that reader version. And I'm going to look again for hands and questions. I'm going to go through for the hand raises one more time. I'm not seeing any more hand raising, and I'm going to go into the question box. And that was my last question. I'm going to give it another second for typing or hand raising. And if you have anything else as you're using the product, again, that's not functioning for you or didn't look exactly the way mine is, it really does function, again, more so with the download options, differently depending on your browser and your system. So if you're in iOS, it may operate a little bit differently with Safari than it will in my 7 with Firefox. So if there's something that's just really racking you out as far as not functioning, give me a call and we'll work it out over the phone. Not seeing any more hands. I am going to go to the question box one more time. And yeah, your old passwords, I have a TK password. Do my old passwords still work? Absolutely. We haven't gone in and changed anybody's password, but for the new people coming on board, and we do have some on the call, rather than going into unique passwords, again, because I just didn't feel that there was a need to do that, and to keep everything consistent. Anybody new coming on is just a default to excellence, and Sally does include it in her welcome email with all of your other information. But if you change your password or if you have an old TK that you're still using, keep it. We haven't gone in there and changed anyone else. So I hope that answered that one. And again, one more swipe down the attendee list for hands, and one more swipe for questions. And it looks like that is about it. This will be recorded and up and running for anyone that would like to review it again. Or Dave, if you're on the line and you want to point your agents in that direction, any other managers or MSAs that want to point the agents in the direction, it will be up and running just about after lunch on our YouTube page. And I constantly forget that, but just so that we're all together on the same thing, if you go to youtube.com/RealtyExecutivesNJ, you will get right to our channel on YouTube. They did make a couple of changes. It used to be that you could just slide down and our playlist would be visible right here. Don't know why they keep making changes. But from here to get to our training playlist, what you would want to do is just click on videos. That'll open up the most recent, and you'll see what's going on in here. But you can then choose the drop-down menu by the downloads, choose playlist, and then from there, we've got our 3 playlists. You're going to look for the regional training. You'll see that we do have 8 videos. Most recently, this morning, I had uploaded the Realtor.com features and freebies. CB, I believe you are on the call, and I think that you ended up missing this because of distribution list issues. So it is here for review right now. That was uploaded this morning, and although I have a custom CMA, because of the new features and because of the fact that this one drove me crazy with an icon that wouldn't go away and didn't record right, I am going to replace it with this one. So one more swipe through. Also, our Facebook page. Again, I was surprised at how many people did not realize that you could actually go directly from Facebook and sign up for one of the webinars, but we're going to go to facebook.com, same exact thing, Realty Executives, if I spell it properly. NJ. You do not have to have a YouTube profile and or channel, nor do you have to be up and running on Facebook to utilize any of the information that I'm giving you right now. I'm going in, as you can see, I'm not signed into Facebook. This is for the general public. You can go ahead and get in there. And what you're going to want to do is click on that calendar. And what I do is I incorporate anything that's going on internationally with all of the stuff you see here. This right now is all of the training that's going on just regionally within New Jersey. This is the listing presentation that we're on. We've got Trulia Basics or Premium Basics coming up on Friday. That's how to utilize the Trulia premium listings with your free Trulia profile, and what you can do with that. So if you wanted to go in, first thing you can tell is it's a webinar because I do not have a location on here. The location would normally pop up, and I'll show you what that looks like on another one. And so when that is not a location, it is. I do type in here that it's a webinar. I don't know why Facebook doesn't show it, because it does come up as a webinar and training. But you can click on the title, and that'll take you right to the sign-up page. And that goes for anything that's going on international as well. That if it is a webinar, that title will always take you to the GoToWebinar sign-up page. By the same token, if it is something that is going in executive websites, that's coming up on Monday the 30th. And that is right here. You'll see the location is the SCAR training room up in Sparta. So there is, and you will not, this does not hyperlink to anything. So that's how you can tell what is live classroom and what is webinar. And then, of course, if it's a webinar, you can go ahead and click on that title and sign up. If it is a classroom, you've got the link to the contact person. In most cases, it's going to be me. You have the link to the contact person, so you can go ahead and generate an email or highlight and copy that email or call me or whatever it is that you want to do. But please RSVP because it is set up classroom style, and I do want to make sure that I have not only room for everyone, but it's comfortable for everyone. So that's it as far as that goes. Again, one more swipe through as far as attendees and hand raises, and as far as questions.